If mosquitoes keep finding you no matter what you spray, the problem is not that your spray is too weak. The problem is that almost everything you have been told about mosquitoes is aimed at the wrong target. Once you understand two simple things, how a mosquito actually finds you and where it actually comes from, getting rid of them stops being a frustrating fight and turns into something pretty straightforward. So let's walk through it, because the science here is genuinely simple, and by the end you will understand exactly why the candles and the store-bought cans have been letting you down. Start with the most important fact, the one that changes everything. The mosquito biting your arm right now is the very end of the story, not the beginning. By the time a mosquito is flying and looking for blood, it has already survived its entire life cycle. And here is the part that matters. More than 90% of the mosquitoes around your home are not in the air at all. They are larvae, sitting in standing water, waiting to grow wings. So when you swat at the adults, you are fighting the small visible fraction of the problem, while the real source keeps producing hundreds more. That single misunderstanding is why people feel like they can never win. They are attacking the wrong stage. So let's break it into the two questions that actually solve this. First, how does a mosquito find you in the first place? And second, where is it coming from? Here's how it finds you. A mosquito doesn't really see you. It smells you. Specifically, it follows the carbon dioxide you exhale and a handful of compounds that come off your skin, and it tracks that chemical trail across the yard straight to you. This is the key to understanding repellents, because a good repellent doesn't poison the mosquito or build a force field. It simply jams that tracking system. And this is exactly why citronella candles do almost nothing. Citronella evaporates within minutes, so the moment it's in the air, it's already gone. The mosquito's sensors are working fine again. Now compare that to oil of lemon eucalyptus. This is the one plant-based ingredient that the CDC places in the same category as DEET for effectiveness. And the reason is that it actually stays on your skin and keeps scrambling the mosquito's receptors for hours instead of minutes. So you can make a working repellent at home for a couple of dollars. Take an empty spray bottle, fill it most of the way with witch hazel, and add lemon eucalyptus oil at roughly 1 part oil to 10 parts witch hazel. Shake it until it turns cloudy. Spray it on exposed skin and reapply every few hours. One important note, do not use oil of lemon eucalyptus on children under 3 and keep it out of your eyes. For everyone else, it's about as gentle as a repellent gets, and it works because it targets the one thing that matters, the mosquito's sense of smell. But notice what that does and does not do. It hides you. It does not reduce the number of mosquitoes in your yard at all. To actually shrink the population, you have to answer the second question: where are they coming from? And the answer is water. Not a pond, not a lake. A mosquito can complete its entire larval stage in the amount of water that fits in a bottle cap, a clogged gutter, a plant saucer, a forgotten bucket, the fold of a tarp. To a mosquito, those are nurseries. So the most effective thing you can do is not to kill adults. It is to kill the larvae in the water before they ever fly. And there is a remarkably clean way to do that, which brings us to the most interesting piece of biology in this whole explanation. It is called BTI. BTI is a naturally occurring soil bacterium, and what makes it so useful is how narrow it is. It only affects the larvae of mosquitoes, black flies, and fungus gnats. Nothing else. It is harmless to bees, to fish, to frogs, to birds, to pets, and to people. You could put your hand right in treated water, but to a mosquito larva, it is lethal. That selectivity is the whole point. It lets you put a killer directly into standing water without harming anything you care about. You can use this deliberately. Fill a bucket with water, add a handful of grass clippings, and let it sit a day until it smells organic. To a female mosquito, that scent signals a perfect place to lay eggs. so she will choose your bucket over cleaner water nearby. Drop in one mosquito dunk, which is just BTI in a small tablet, and you have built a trap. She lays her eggs, they hatch, the larvae feed, and they die before they ever reach the biting stage. One dunk keeps working for about a month. And for any standing water you cannot treat with a dunk, there is an even simpler tool that comes down to pure physics: a single drop of dish soap. Mosquito larvae have to hang at the water's surface to breathe through a small tube. Dish soap breaks the surface tension that lets them do that, so they sink and drown. One drop in a saucer or a gutter is enough. There is one more piece worth understanding, because it is almost free. Mosquitoes are genuinely bad flyers. They move at barely a mile an hour and cannot push through even a gentle breeze. So a simple box fan pointed across your patio does two useful things at once. It physically pushes them off course, and it scatters the cloud of carbon dioxide they were using to locate you. That is why a fan can clear a seating area almost instantly. It is not killing anything, it is just making you impossible to find and impossible to land on. Now, with all of that understood, here's the question that ties it together. Why do mosquitoes come back to the same yard year after year? It isn't bad luck. It's that the breeding sites were never removed. The water is still there, so the cycle simply restarts. Which means the most powerful habit you can build is also the most boring one. Once a week, walk your property and look for standing water. The clogged gutter, the plant saucers, the kids' toys, the tarp folds, the dog bowl, the bird bath, the wheelbarrow. Anything holding water more than a few days is producing mosquitoes. Dump what you can and treat what you can't with a dunk or a drop of soap. Do that weekly, and you're cutting off the next generation before it ever hatches. So step back and look at what you actually understand now. Mosquitoes find you by smell, so a lemon eucalyptus spray makes you invisible. They come from water, so BTI and a drop of dish soap destroy them at the source, where 90% of them live. They're weak flyers, so a fan clears your patio. And they return because the water stays, so a weekly sweep keeps the population from ever rebuilding. None of this depends on a special product or a $100 service. It depends on aiming at the right stage of the mosquito's life instead of the wrong one. A couple of honest points to be clear about. The homemade spray repels, it doesn't kill. Its job is to keep them off your skin, while the actual population control happens in the water. So don't rely on the spray alone and skip the water. And you control your own yard, not the whole neighborhood, so if there's a ditch, a swamp, or an untreated pool nearby, some mosquitoes will still drift in. But protect yourself with the spray, kill what breeds on your property, and you take back the overwhelming majority of your own space. That's really all there is to it. Not a candle that does nothing, and not a can that wears off before you finish your drink, but an understanding of how the insect works and a few cheap tools that each target a specific part of its life. Spend a little time on the water, keep the spray handy, and your yard stops being a place mosquitoes can thrive.